Hello, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Today, we're talking about adulting. That's what I want to talk about, adulting. Why? Because that is the thing that I've been talking about the most with y'all young adults. Usually it comes out as like this, oh my gosh, adulting, or I don't even know how to adult, or how are we supposed to adult again? Or it's a lot like, okay, they seem like they're adulting over there, and I don't know how to do this. And so there's trepidation and shame and confusion on what this thing called adulting is, or more so how to adult. And so, of course, we can go into the minutia of the responsibilities, but ultimately, at the foundation of adulting, or even this transition of adulting or into adulting, um, I believe that there's a shift in how we see ourselves and, more importantly, how we treat ourselves. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And hopefully it feels helpful. So let's back up a bit and normalize that when we are younger, the way that we learn as human beings, the primary way that we learn is by observing others and following others. We're observing the world. We're learning new things by following what people around us are doing. That's how we learn. That's how we start to build big brain. So we do this for a certain amount of years, and then we get to this age where we start to want to have our independence. We want to go from following what everybody else says we should be doing, by following other people's rules, by living in their homes, by their standards. We want to start to build our own. So there comes a point in our life where instead of following, and we were fine with following for a long time, until a certain point where all of a sudden it's like, no more. We don't want to follow anymore. We want to start leading our lives. And I think that's the transition into adulthood. Also, I want to be very clear that it is so normal to not know how to adult because we don't actually teach that. We spend so much time in this world teaching kids how to just get through college, right? How to get to that point where they're out of the house. And then it's like, okay, go. You should just know. You should just know how to do life. You don't know, but we don't ever get taught how to do that. So if you are in that transition and it's hard and it's confusing and it's a pain in the ass and you think that everybody else has all of the answers except for you because it seems like they know what's up and that they got this handbook on how to do life and you didn't, they don't know either. None of us received this handbook, which honestly is a little bit why I'm starting this, like, wanting to be more visible on YouTube and on podcasts and in socials, because I think it's really important to have these conversations. Gen Zers, y'all are a large generation. And not only am I super inspired by y'all, but I really do want you to know that you're doing it right, that you get to live life on your terms, and that you get to start now, and you don't have to wait the 20 or 40 years to do it everybody else's way, have a midlife crisis, and then realize, oh, I could have done it my way the whole time. So we're just going to save you those 20 years and start now. Okay? Yes. How do we do that? So when thinking about adulting, think of it as a role shift. One way of thinking about this transition into adulthood is a transition in roles. So instead of being a student or a follower or a child of, always sort of going by other people's rules and following other people's standards, it's a transition into you are now the leader. A transition into you are now expert. What would it mean for you to lean into the role of I am the expert in my life now? I get to lead my life now. I am CEO or big boss or CMO. I heard this term, CMO, Sam Garcia. Thank you. Which is Chief Magical Officer. I love that. If I were going to create my own term, it would be CAO, Chief Adventure Officer, just because, I don't know, I love adventures. And whenever I'm feeling super stressed out or overwhelmed, it helps me to think of life as an adventure, or whatever my next project is as an adventure, because I don't know, all of a sudden it doesn't feel so deep. All of a sudden it's like, ooh, it's an adventure. I get to just sort of see. I don't need to have all of the answers. We're going to find it out because it's an adventure. Whatever term works for you, at least for the next however long this video is, think of adulting as transitioning into treating yourself and believing and acting from you being CEO of your life, you being chief adventure officer, you being big boss, you being expert, you knowing the answers for you. There's an analogy that I tend to use in my composition class. So if you were ever to take a Comp 2 with me and we're doing a large argumentative essay, my secret, it's not so secret because I tell everyone, but my personal goal in there as the instructor is for them to see and to experience themselves as expert writers, to go from student writers or novice writers to expert writers. And in academia, the way that I define that is, for so long, when we go K through 12, the way that we tend to teach how to write or how to do research primarily is to read other people's work, understand other people's work and ideas, and then be able to regurgitate other people's ideas. So we get really good at summarizing, understanding, and regurgitating other people's ideas. Once you hit college level, and what I deem expert in academia is, that no longer works. That's like the follower. You get really good at understanding and learning and following what other people think. Now we're transitioning to, I want you to be able to make your own argument. I want you to take all of that data that you've already gathered. I want you to start to build the confidence to be able to say your opinion, not anybody else's, just yours. You say your opinion. You communicate your opinion. You write that opinion down in the form of a claim or an argument. You write that thing down. And now, because you are expert, this is your claim, you're going to find other experts in the field who have done research and provided evidential support to support your own claim. Can you see the distinction there? Instead of just regurgitating other people's ideas, you are now forming your own opinion, going out into the world, listening, understanding the data around you, to then make sure that it supports your claim. They are in support of you because why? Now you are leading. Now that is the parallel with adulthood. Is you have already done that learning. You have understood how other people do it. You know what adults in your lives say you should be doing. You know what society says you should be doing. Now you get to start to decipher how it is that you want to do life. What are your values? What do you enjoy? What is going to be important to you? Of course, you can still learn and find data, but that data ultimately is to serve you. You get to filter it through your knowledge base. And guess what? You are an expert in you. You know yourself best. Nobody on this planet cares more about your life and knows more about your life, where you've been, who you are now, and where you're going than you. So let's link this back to the CEO of a company. All right, and we're going to, for the premise of this analogy, they're a fabulous CEO, very effective. A CEO may want to change directions, may be trying to figure out what the next step is. That CEO may hire advisors or consultants to come in and provide their take on what's going on with the business, where they think the direction would be or should be going. Now, as the CEO, does the CEO automatically do everything that the advisors and the consultants say? The answer is no. The CEO, at least we hope, if they're an effective CEO, is going to take that data. They're going to trust them as experts in their field, but they're experts in their field doesn't mean that they're an expert in what's best for the business. Now, the CEO takes that data, with their knowledge base of where the company has been, the culture of the company, and where the company is going, to then implement what the advisors have said, what the consultants have said, or not. So if we take this analogy into your lives and link it to adulting, you've had consultants and advisors in your life your whole life. Hopefully, they've been amazing supports to you. Many of us didn't have great supports growing up, and we found them in different ways in the form of teachers and grandparents and parents and family members and culture and your friends and social. There's just been a variety of places that you have found information on how to live your life. Now, as children or as teenagers, we tend to follow. We tend to just go by what the advisors and the consultants have said to do. And now, as we transition into adulthood or adulting, we're leaning more and more into, oh, hold on. I am the CEO of my own life. I am big boss. I'm the one who knows myself best. Instead of just unconsciously or just following whatever consultants and advisors say, I get to now filter it through the knowledge base and the expertise that I am. I get to treat myself like I am the human responsible for my life. I get to treat myself like I matter here. And this data that I'm gathering gets to be in service of what I want. And do you get to do that? Are you deserving of that? Are you worthy of that? My answer is yes. It's also not going to be super easy. It's not something that you just wake up one day and you're like, done. I know how to do this. Y'all, you have lived 17, 22, 27 years the other way. So if it takes a bit of time for you to transition into this role of following what everybody else says I should be doing to, oh my goodness, I have to now understand what I want to do, filter the information through what I want, what my skills are, and then make choices from there, it's tough. I'm not saying that this is easy because it does. It takes a certain amount of willingness to be introspective, willingness to be uncertain, willingness to ask yourself the questions that we don't tend to ask ourselves. Like, what do I want? What am I good at? What do I value? Is it the same? Do I have the same values as the people who I treated as advisors and consultants in my past? Society tells me that I should be going to school and going to college right after high school. Does that actually work for me? Do I want to go to a 4-year college or do I want to go to a 2-year college? Do I even want to go to college at all? For what purpose? Now, just because I'm currently teaching, so I tend to talk to a lot of students, and most of the young adults that I'm coaching currently are in college. I want to speak to that too, is you are also now the CEO or the big boss or the expert in your own education. The college system, the university system is set up to support you, not the other way around. They create a buffet of choices. They want you to have an amazing educational experience. They create all of these opportunities for you then. I love this. I'm like, and they serve it up on a platter for you then to choose from. You to choose from. And you're not going to choose everything because that's overwhelming and it's not all meant for you. You're not going to eat everything in a buffet all at the same time because then you'd leave sick. But you get to pick and choose what works best for you right now. And you get to treat your educational career as such. Your classes that you choose for you. If there are classes where the teacher or the way they grade doesn't work for the way that you learn and doesn't support you right now in what you need, you are allowed to not take that class. Now, there may be consequences, right? There might be financial ramifications. You might have to wait another semester to take that class because it's not offered, but you have choice here. I'm not saying there's not going to be consequences. Welcome to the world. Yes, but any choice that you make is going to have consequences. But what consequences matter to you more than others? What is most important to you? If having a teacher that you like and that you learn from and that you're engaged with matters more than the time frame, then you may choose that teacher. Then you may take a little more time to find a teacher that is that way. But if the time frame is most important to you, then you may just deal with a teacher that you're not engaged with, or a way of learning that you don't learn well with, and you're going to then hire a tutor, or you're going to use the tutoring services at your university, because the time frame matters the most. Again, though, do y'all see the pattern that you are at the center of who makes those choices? All of us surrounding you get to be your consultants and advisors. It does not mean that we know what's best for you. We have a lot of expertise. We have a lot of knowledge. But guess what? We have information that we get to share with you, and then you get to do with that information whatever you want to. And I'd say that is the biggest shift in this adulting thing. Now, again, we can talk about the minutia of all the responsibilities and what it means to do taxes and mortgages and things, but those are actually not the questions that come up most with the young adults that I speak with. Usually it is related to the self-doubt and the permission to be responsible. And so, permission granted to treat yourselves like you matter, to treat yourselves like the CEO of your lives, to treat yourselves like big bosses or chief adventure officers, to use us and to see us in your lives as support systems, as advisors, as consultants, not that have power over you, not that you have to follow because we say so, but because we have data from our own perspectives that may help, but they may not. And who gets to decide? You do. And an added bonus is that you're already doing it. Think about a decision that you have been worried about making in the past or right now. We tend to try to ask every single person, what do you think we should do? And you get everybody's ideas. But have you done what everybody else has said? Often you haven't. Why? Because you're basically waiting for everybody else to tell you what you know you want to do already. And if it doesn't sound like something you want to do, you ain't doing it. So y'all, can you see that you're already doing this thing called knowing what you want and making the choices that you want? But what tends to be the friction is that we don't trust ourselves enough to just go do the thing that we want. We try to have other people agree with us and tell us that it's okay. Versus, you probably do already know. And permission to just make the decision. At some point, as CEO of the company that is you, you've got to make the decision and go with it. And then trust that your future self down the line, if changes need to be made, will know how to make them. All right. That's what I got for you today. I hope that helps. Of course, if you have any questions or concerns, or this brings up a different idea that you want to have a conversation with, please, conversation about, let me know. You could comment, you could find me on Instagram, you can message me. This is the stuff that I love to do, is be in conversation with y'all. So if there are ways that I can support you in that way, please, please, please do reach out. And of course, if you like videos like this, subscribe, like, follow. If you're listening to this as a podcast, do the rating. I don't think I have any ratings on the podcast, so you may be the first one. But I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in the next one.